And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say it
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone and Sean Anderson, 2 former college football players from the University of Rhode Island. Today, we are going to dive into some NFL free agency talk and a little bit of way too early Super Bowl picks based on the betting odds on Bet Online. And if our listeners wanted to hop in and maybe play some of the bets that we give, where could they do that, Sean?
Oh, they'd be doing it at Bet Online. Where else would already have the futures out? Where else would have everything that you need to bet on sports? You're betting on golf this week, like me, big sucker. Oh, you're doing it at Bet Online.
Did you bet online for Drewski to go over 5 points?
Yeah. They had all the All-Star game odds, all those picks. They got all the Four Nations hockey, everything that we're going to be talking. They have it. So if you want to get in on the action, every three-pointer, every hat trick, Bet Online has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, every win. Bet Online, the game starts here.
All right, thank you, Sean. First piece of free agency news that has propped up and is going to be a massive discussion point even up until the first games kick off. What is going to happen with Sam Darnold? What is going to happen with the Minnesota Vikings quarterback situation? It was something that you and I had discussed multiple times during the regular season. Now, we did get a comment from Justin Jefferson who weighed in on this. I wonder which fundraiser for whatever, he was getting berated about this. But he told Athlon Sports, though, luckily that ain't my decision. I'm sitting back and I'm waiting for all these decisions to be made. I'm really just showing up and being myself and making the plays that I make. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what we're going to do with Sam, if we're going to bring him back. Of course, JJ is going to have his opportunity to make some plays and to see if he's going to be the starter. So we gave the total non-answer. That's not what we're reacting to. We're reacting to what do we think they should do. I know that you are a big Sam Darnold supporter, saying that Sam Darnold needs to stick around, that they shouldn't feel rushed with J.J. McCarthy. There is an aggressive contingency that thinks that J.J. McCarthy should be the guy. What are your thoughts?
That it's just that. Why are they being so aggressive with J.J. McCarthy after seeing the last performances?
You should see some of the tweets that people say.
Dude,
they will call you a big dumbass if you suggest Darnold staying.
He should be staying, and I'm not saying he should be staying for Dak money. That's the immediate jump to conclusion that everybody has when you say pay Darnold, or they should be interested in retaining Darnold. What they should do. They should do what Washington did with Kirk for those years. And they bungled the Kirk situation because they should have signed him to a long-term contract because he was younger at the time.
You're saying screw him over by just franchise tagging him constantly?
Franchise tag him.
Oh, man. You're real player-friendly over there.
He gets his money. And also, come on. Sam Darnold doesn't know that this was his one good season. He should say, yeah, give me another shot. I will take that average out.
Wait. But if that is his thought process, he doesn't want to get tagged. He wants to test the market and let the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, probably not the Browns, the Raiders, to all funnel in and send him massive offers to come start for them. Go suck it up if you want. I don't think that he will, but go stink it up wherever you decide to go after you get paid. If you get the whole franchise tag bit, and the problem now is if he gets tagged, has a little bit of a rocky stretch, and they got to bring J.J. McCarthy in, his career's over. He's going back to being a backup.
No, I wouldn't say his career is over then. And
yes, it is.
I don't think Sam Darnold would have a stinker
he's
next
year. He's
year
not getting the Baker
Minnesota.
Mayfield bread.
Well, I think his career would be equally as over if he went to the Giants and stunk it up, and then they just cut his ass.
If they signed him to a 4-year deal, he gets all that money, and then he gets to – that's what I'm saying. Get paid and then go do whatever the hell you want if I'm him and his agent.
No, that is not the right plan for long-term success for Darnold. He needs to have another prove-it year. He needs to get paid his value, which was, hey, I was a 10-plus win quarterback on the Minnesota Vikings. My track record shows I'm not a 10-plus win quarterback on just about every other team I've been on. So let me understand my situation. I think these guys are a bit smarter and understand that their path would be to continue to shore it up on a good team instead of getting basically drafted to an awful franchise and having to be a savior, which he has never once been.
There's a lot of different angles to look at this because what you said is true. What you just said is correct. If I'm Sam Darnold and I'm looking at it the lens of how do I establish and continue this one really hot year, the best year of my career?
Yeah.
If I'm him and that is the main focus, I want to do everything possible to stay in Minnesota. That's in a vacuum. That is completely just in a vacuum. Sam Darnold shouldn't want to leave no matter the money. If there's more money offered to shit situations like with the Raiders or with the Giants, with the Titans that I've suggested, it's not worth the risk of finding out if he can actually work elsewhere. But the problem is that if we take out the vacuum, there's a kid that they just drafted last year that's breathing down his neck. Are you suggesting that they should trade JJ McCarthy? Because if you keep, I don't think that there is a world at all where if Darnold comes back, that you can't entertain trading JJ McCarthy. Like you have to. You can't create this weird awkwardness by him sitting there. And then the second that Darnold shits his pants and has one bad game, it's going to get brought up immediately. We just saw it happen with Kirk.
Yeah, and inversely, if the first snap of JJ McCarthy's career goes for is picked off or it's an incompletion, then everyone's going to be calling for why did we keep this guy instead of Darnold, no matter how Darnold is doing. Which quarterback is going to give the Minnesota Vikings more value right now? I think it's Darnold because he has contributed to wins tangibly in the NFL. And McCarthy, his value is in trade value, draft picks. That is his value to the Minnesota Vikings. And I think you could double up, keep your value on the field with Darnold and get some draft capital for this year by just saying, hey, we lucked out. And we kind of have some runoff piece here in JJ McCarthy. Who needs a young quarterback who wants to take a swing? Go ahead. We'll entertain every offer. They should entertain every offer from McCarthy.
Now that angle is fair because if you look at the desperation of this current draft with one very high ceiling option with Cam Ward, one really high floor option with Shedeur Sanders, and then just 50 feet of crap. Just a really awful shit quarterback class that you're not going to find your guy. For that being in the scope of the conversation, I think that a lot of these teams, the three that I just mentioned, even the Jets are now a part of this conversation. There are plenty of teams that I think would throw a ton of draft capital at going and getting JJ McCarthy instead of trading up because it is, I think, understood. I think most people would agree with this because I keep getting asked this a lot. I did a Vikings show and they asked me about this. McCarthy would be the first quarterback in this class. Like if he was a part of this draft class, he would be the first one selected. He would. If he had declared and he had a slightly improved season from the year that they won the national championship, say Michigan has a slightly better record because they actually have a quarterback back there who's playing, but he's got no receivers, blah, blah, blah. If he went through this draft process like he did last year and he became a riser the way that he did, he 100% would have rose to being the first overall pick and Cam Ward would have been the second or third overall pick. I truly believe that. So you're right. There, you can end up getting a king's ransom if you trade JJ McCarthy instead of getting no return for letting Sam Darnold walk.
I'd like to say I was being rather diplomatic with the first couple answers or rationale. JJ McCarthy, I go back and I'll see him playing in Michigan. He still stunk. It's just stinkeroos all over the place. I thought his accuracy issues.
I'm getting all of this right now. Go ahead, continue. I'm understanding it.
You
hate JJ McCarthy.
No, I don't hate JJ McCarthy. But if we're walking
4 months of this, and now I get it.
If we're walking past the nice wall and getting back here to the real truth, I don't think he's going to be a big time NFL quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a leader of the team.
There we go. There we go.
I've been on record on this show saying
all coming clear.
I've said I don't think he starts more than 32 NFL games in his career. And I'm still somewhat standing by that.
I don't agree with any of this.
That's fine. He has the raw potential. Oh my God, does he have the raw potential? He's got the athleticism. Well, now he's already got an NFL injury under his belt. Not great for his athleticism standpoint. He did get a full year to rehab or recoup, but he's not going to be that same dude.
ACL injuries don't have the same the level of
He's
impact
gonna be-
as they used to.
He's going to be way more ginger with it, way more tender. Where's Josh Allen's ACL injury? No, he hasn't had one, so he's maintained the
Saquon
dominance.
suffered an ACL injury. Are we going to do this? Are we
Yeah,
going to do this?
You can do it. Running back
Adrian
position.
Peterson
Yes,
suffered an
but-
ACL injury.
yes,
Are we going to do
But
this?
that position dictates you to still go out and play the same way. Quarterbacking is different because your primary aspect is managing the game and throwing the ball and not running.
No, I can't
So,
get behind this.
I don't. That's fine if you're not behind it, but I'm telling you, he's not. His value is already diminishing as an NFL player. He didn't play at all his first year, which I don't think he really should have. That's fine with me. I didn't think he was a guy that should have been an immediate rookie starter. But where's the upwards momentum for this guy? I don't see.
He hasn't played. You're asking for upwards momentum for a guy who
He
hasn't
barely threw
played.
He barely threw at Michigan, man. What is that? I've still hung up on that, where they took the ball out of his hands. Other quarterbacks,
They
rookie
didn't
quarterbacks
have any
that
receivers. Roman Wilson was his number one receiver. He didn't do shit this year with the Steelers. You
I
know
know.
who to throw to.
He had a bad year. Yeah, that's true. But he had enough to throw to. He was still the Michigan offense. They should have got beat by TCU. He had an awful game there.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. And then a year ago, he didn't play in the NFL. There's for injury.
The mental gymnastics that you're going through to knock a guy who hasn't even. But here's my argument and why I am pro keep JJ, let Sam Darnold walk away into the distance as the fog consumes him. Just let him disappear into the abyss. Whatever happens, happens. If Sam Darnold, who up until this point was ass, just a bad quarterback, suddenly catches fire in this circumstance, a very quarterback-friendly circumstance.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is a great example of that. He leaves. Awful with Atlanta.
We had 6 cook. You forget about Kirktober.
There has been, God, don't even. There has been enough proof that with Kevin O'Connell, that there is the right setting for a second-year guy who got the whole year to sit and learn, that he will end up growing and developing and being great. I think that is what you're missing here. I think that quarterback performance and development is extremely contingent on guys being in the right situation. I'd rather have a guy with an elite situation and maybe less success on film with the tools than vice versa. Caleb Williams was Exhibit A before. Caleb Williams was in a shit situation. I'm saying all this to say, Sean, that I would much rather go with the young guy and give him the opportunity to grow and to develop, a guy that you invested early draft capital in, instead of, frankly, a player who didn't perform well in 2 of their biggest games at the end of the season. His ceiling was shown. Sam Darnold's ceiling was shown.
It was a good ceiling, by the way. Do you think that McCarthy ever eclipses this season that Darnold had? 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 picks. Do you think he ever has a season as good as that?
Yes.
No shot.
Absolutely.
There's no shot. He is not a passer at the level that Darnold is. If you want to say he has 8 rushing touchdowns in a season, maybe that inflates some numbers.
Okay, so finish. Sorry, I'm cutting you off.
But he is not getting, I don't see him as a 4,000-yard passer. I don't see him as a 30-plus touchdown quarterback.
You have no context to know that, though. That's where I'm getting. I'm off on this.
I saw him at Michigan, and you're right. The placement in Minnesota is great. The O'Connell factor is legitimate, but I'm just not buying in to it when I have a product. Are you telling me the Vikings could do better at quarterback than 4,300 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 picks? You think that's something that they should aspire for more, or is that something that says we have this position taken care of if we can get this?
The aspiration isn't to outperform that. It's to get equal production, okay? It's to get similar production. But the more important thing is what solution provides you with the most long-term success. Sam Darnold is 27. He's got plenty of more time to play. You also only have 1 year's worth of context of him playing really well. There's plenty of guys who have gone on to, after 1 year, like one hot year, just to completely collapse. Okay. Him having more bad seasons than good is not investing in long-term success. If JJ McCarthy, he's going to take a little bit of time to get going, But if he gets going and gets into the rhythm and he can produce similar results, which is totally capable for him, okay, totally capable, you would have that for much longer. You would have that for a much longer runway. I would rather invest in that.
I don't want JJ McCarthy for that long. I don't think I'm going to want him for that
Again,
long.
it's clear now that you just hate JJ McCarthy.
That's
what this
keep
is.
labeling it with hate. It is not hate.
It sounds like you hate him. Then how would you describe it?
Analysis. My judgment of his quarterbacking play. Sure,
hate.
We'll jump right there. That's fine. If I'm a JJ McCarthy hater, then fine. I'll wear that. It's true. Then yeah, sure. I'm a hater of JJ
so you're
McCarthy.
admitting
Yeah.
it.
I'll wear that. I'll wear that label all throughout. And if I get proven wrong, so be it. But I won't get proven wrong. I don't think he has the NFL accuracy. I don't think he has the composure. I don't think he has a better season ever than Sam Darnold had this year.
Oh, well, we will revisit that.
I am excited to.
NFL free agency is going to be kicking off very soon, Sean. There are actually some pretty big names that can be a part of this year's upcoming free agency class. I want to talk about two guys that we each think should be the most highly sought after, who can have the biggest impacts for their new teams, who should be getting the most attention. Who was your first one?
My first is T. Higgins, and this one should be so simple for NFL teams. I've got a borderline number 1, number 2 wide receiver. Some could characterize him as a 1 because of how good Jamar Chase is. He's been forced in that number 2 role. We've seen him step up when Chase has been hurt. He's only 26, and most importantly, everybody in the league knows that the Bengals are dying to not pay this guy. They're dying to not get something done and have you, Mr. Prospective GM into T. Higgins, have you pick up the tab. And what are you going to get? A dynamic, rangy receiver with incredible flexibility, great ball skills at the point of attack. It's such a no-brainer to me that you're getting a T. Higgins in his prime. And it's not like he's been wasted in Cincinnati. Like, oh, he just needs to get on a better team with a better quarterback. Hard to do that when you got Joe Burrow passing him the ball. But they don't want to pay this guy. It's been years of everyone.
They're the cheapest organization in the sport.
Dead cheap that you could go in and just ransack the place. I think you could get pretty good money for T. Higgins, and knowing that they're not going to counter. Oh yeah, sure. We'll just keep it up. We'll just have Andre Yoshivash step up.
Man, he's got some juice.
He's been fine. He's not T. Higgins, and the Bengals are dying to have him be T. Higgins. This guy should be an auto steal. If you need a wide receiver, inquire about T. Higgins.
Yeah, the only problem is it's too hard to pay 2 receivers. So anyone who does need a receiver in a free agency class where there's really not a lot of good options, you start going through it. It's Amari Cooper and Stephon Diggs. T. Higgins is going to get sent a crap load of bread.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like he's going to end up on a team that's like not really ready to win right now? I don't know who that is. Like, he's going to totally just take the biggest contract that he gets offered.
And you know what? Go ahead. Get paid. Make some big catches for the team. It's great. But the unfortunate part of it, if he does depart to another team, is the Bengals had supreme offensive talent, young core in Chase Higgins. I'd say Chase Brown also emerged this year, and Joe Burrow. And they've squandered it with slow Septembers, cheap management of the cap, and not keeping players happy. And this could have been a great run. It could have been a great AFC team, but they're stuck in the mud because their front office won't let them get out of it.
Well, if you've gotten so much production out of these guys that you've drafted on day 2 and so forth, I would argue that the Bengals are probably going to be fine, that they should draft somebody in the end of the first round or sometime in the second to find that eventual replacement for T. Higgins to play alongside Jamar Chase. There's not a lot of great options. I really like the idea of Jaden Higgins, but we'll see what happens there. My first one, and not to rehash the argument that we were just having, Sam Darnold to me is the biggest free agent. So assuming that he does enter the market, this is one of the rare times that there's actually like a big name, let me rephrase, a starter-worthy quarterback in a free agency class. It's really hard to come by a guy that has shown high-level starter performances like Sam Darnold. A lot of times it is scraping the bottom of the barrel and hoping that you can get something out of someone. Jameis Winston's the next guy that we could possibly name as an option. Sam Darnold could be to the degree that Baker Mayfield was when he signed with the Buccaneers. I hope that he's smart about this, and I think that he will be, knowing how burned he was quickly by being in bad situations. I support, and I know that this is something that probably won't come to fruition, but the idea of him going back to the Jets feels like it could be the best situation because defensive-minded coach, a lot of defensive talent, and their offensive line, there's been investment over the past few drafts where this year with their first-round pick, they could spend one more draft selection on Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell, Tyler Booker. There are a lot, Josh Simmons. There's a lot of ways that they can turn to just like really bolster that group. And you got a young guy in Garrett Williams. You've got a young running back in Breece Hall. Darnold coming back might be the most amazing storyline that probably would never come to fruition, because if I was him, I'd be pissed about the way things turned out the first time.
I thought we were rooting for Darnold. I thought sending him back to the Jets is a death sentence.
This team is in a better position to perform at a high level than people realize.
Dude, it doesn't work there, man. They need a Messiah to come and fix the Jets, and he is not a Messiah.
Talk about the most Messiah way path possible. He died for their sins.
Oh, this is him exiting that game.
Yeah, he died. He died for their sins. They crucified him. They literally crucified him, and he is resurrected. Sam Darnold is Jesus Christ.
This is blasphemous, man. This is really.
Tell me he's not Jesus Christ. He has literally resurrected and died for their sins.
Here's what I'll say. Then the Jesus Christ should get a Geno Smith deal, 3 years, $75 million, $40 million guaranteed. He'll probably exceed that, but their career arcs so similar. Just burned by bad team after bad team. Get picked up by a competent one. Get paid. Don't go after you don't need the big time Dak Prescott contract. You haven't earned it. Stay in your level. And I think these NFL teams need to keep quarterbacks in check and say, you ain't that good, pal. You're Geno Smith good. That means you're getting under $100 million total. We'll guarantee you some. You keep playing quarterback in the NFL, and you keep having, women want you a little bit. That's the benefit.
Yeah,
here.
you get mono from kissing girls at the club. But here's the thing though, just like to really quickly kind of address this. And maybe we should do a segment eventually, like purely on this of, solving the most quarterback needy teams. Here are the teams, if I'm looking at the draft order, that need a quarterback. Tell me which of these, after I read the list, like are actual good situations that he should sign up for. Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns. Tennessee Titans actually is an underrated one because they've got the first overall pick. You draft Abdul Carter. You've got a pretty nice offensive line, and you could draft another one in the second round. So Tennessee Titans, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, Las Vegas Raiders, New York Jets, New Orleans Saints. I'm not seeing anyone else that like really needs a quarterback that's like after the top 14 picks. Okay, so that's all of them.
Yeah.
That's all of them.
Looking at the quarterback needy teams that have actual cap room right now, the Raiders, number 2, $92 million. They probably have to be I know
their O-line is
I wouldn't sign
awful.
up for it either, but if we're working through it, yeah, I think the Raiders, they have the space and they need a quarterback. Then you have who else here? I mean, the Vikings are 7th on the list with $58 million just to spend. Go ahead. Maybe they do retain him. Other than that, yeah, Lions quarterback. Bengals have their guy. Steelers.
Ryan says the Rams, depending on what they do. I did a spot on
the Stafford domino will be interesting to
see. If they're, I think that's what will motivate the Stafford move if that actually happens. If they think that they can get Sam Darnold.
What about cutting Wilson and Fields loose and having Darnold go to Pittsburgh? They got some money.
That's actually not
they
a
got
bad.
$53 million sitting.
I still want Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
just got. I want. You had fat shithead Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career. I want fat shithead Aaron Rodgers. I want him to get fat, and that's what I want that to turn into. I'm going to get my second pick here. Trey Smith from the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, is going to be, to me, the most important offensive line free agent. It's harder than ever to get free agent worthy offensive linemen on the market because if you're worth anything, if you're slightly above average, your team is desperately going to try to keep you. They're going to do everything possible to keep you because it's really hard these days to find good offensive linemen. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be motivated enough to try and keep him around, but I wouldn't be stunned if we don't end up seeing somebody just offer a truckload of money for him to start for a team that's got a young quarterback.
He's going to get paid. He should get paid. He is a fantastic guard, and he's due some money. 6th round pick, if my memory serves me right. It's coming, Mr. Smith. You're going to get the Brinks truck, and you should. Absolute protector. If the Chiefs are smart, they don't let him anywhere near free agency. Say, hey, it's you and Creed right there shoring up the offensive line. Patrick Mahomes never getting rushed up the middle because of you two guys. It all works. He shouldn't even, he shouldn't, nobody should even be calling about him because Kansas City should just be hanging up. No, we're working on it. We're keeping him. Don't call. You want Juju Smith-Schuster? Go. All right, cool. We'll work something out with you.
Good luck stopping the Patriots, who have a ungodly amount of cap room for the first time in a very long time, that they're not going to offer that man, his own portion of the stadium.
I mean, he is an absolutely valuable free agent.
Yeah.
And then like the next ranked offensive lineman free agent is Drew Dalman, the Falcons center. Stinkeroo. And
I don't even think I've seen him play, if I'm being completely honest.
Not an impact maker. And I don't need a center to be like pancaking everybody all the time, but there were some holy calls. There was some stuff. I was not thrilled with Dalman this year in the position of center. Wasn't that happy. My second guy, I'll keep him kind of brief because he just jumped on the scene. It's not like we got a ton to really discuss with him, but Zach Bond, go get paid. 1-year deal with the Eagles this year. Defensive player of the year, 150 tackles. Sign him back up. I think that him being a true middle linebacker, not the super flowy guy, not rangy coverage guy, but a true middle linebacker freed up so many of these incredible athletes that Philly had to go play a little more hybrid, a little more free positionally. Because you know what? Bond's got the hashes. Anything coming in between the hashes, he's got it. Anything outside the hashes, maybe we need some speed. Maybe we need Nolan Smith helping out. But he was an absolute anchor of the defense. And I think he would be an anchor for a lot of defenses also. If you needed a linebacker, this is who you should be calling. I mean, he is an absolute professional, top to bottom NFL linebacker and should be inquiring about some big money.
My only thing with Zach Bond, I don't know why, but it just gives me that feeling that this is going to be one of those dudes that gets paid a shitload of money and then just disappears, just stinks it up. And it's one of those, man, that's a weird free agent signing. You look back at it like 5 years, it's like he had like one good year on that contract, and then he was all over the place. It took him a really positive. Let me ask you this. Zach Bond, yes, was in the defensive player of the year conversation at the end of the year. He wasn't going to win the award. But does he produce those same results without the guys that he had in front of him that were clearing space? I don't know about that. I think he needs to be very smart about where he goes, considering the lack of success that he had in New Orleans originally. He needs to pick somewhere that's got some good dudes up front opening lanes for him.
I would want to stay in Philly if I were him. If he got picked up by like the Colts, maybe him and Zaire Franklin could do some damage, but you're not really noticing Zach Bond on the Colts. You're noticing Zach Bond on the Philly defense with the front-loaded Georgia, and then the exciting whites on the back end, and then the row of murderers at linebacker.
I don't know how we've gotten away with that. Like, that term has just become...
Hey, you know what? It's because they are exciting. If they were bad and they couldn't play ball, they would be getting no favor from the public. And trust me, the second they start losing a step, there's going to be some funny days on Twitter. But right now, they're exciting, and one of them had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. That deserves a little bit of... You know what? We'll let this one slide here. We'll have fun with this one. We don't have to be angry.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, let's take a look at BetOnline's way too early futures bets for what could happen. What can happen next year? Who do we think is worthy of us today in February putting money down on that will pan out as a successful pick? The first one that I love, Sean. I love the Bengals at plus 1,400. And the betting public has liked this too because it originally started at plus 2,000. It has been moving.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Burrow playing as well as he did at an MVP caliber level, enough so that he was in the discussion. Not making the playoffs was in the final voting. That's hard to do, to be considered when your team doesn't even make the damn playoffs. They drafted a lot of young dudes defensively last year that didn't contribute or play to the way that they needed to. I don't think that every player's progression is where they need to be immediate impact starter. I think that there's a lot of young cats on that defense that could step up and perform better. I love Al Golden, obviously, him being a former Notre Dame DC. He, having already been there, helps this thing just hit the ground running. If they address the draft effectively and just kind of shore up those final holes, Joey B getting back there, I think is totally plausible. If there is one team that we're going like, man, why did we doubt them in the offseason, the beginning of the year? It's going to be the Bengals.
The Burrow factor is legitimate. They're losing Jermaine Pratt, who's requested a trade. I think that's tough. He was a good player for them at linebacker. I am so in on Burrow. I'm a huge Burrow guy. I think he is an absolute daughter. I think he's a killer at quarterback. I am starting to fade quickly on head coach Zach Taylor, though. He concerns me. So I'm a little hesitant about the Bengals Super Bowl odds. It's fine odds, plus 1,400. It's a bit of a shot.
That's the long shot one that you kind of you sprinkle down and you go, all right, if this one doesn't come to fruition, I'm not pissed. But if I want to just say that, if I want to be able to just raise my hand obnoxiously during next year's Super Bowl, like, hey, screw everybody, I had this pick right. None of you guys wanted to listen. That's the one.
I think my longer shot, this is one that I'm eyeing down. Chargers plus 3,300. They got the quarterback. They got the Harbaugh.
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, they do have
What's the if here? What's the if?
Look,
if Justin Herbert does what,
right,
they get to the Super Bowl.
If Justin Herbert just stays healthy and just gets another receiving option, gets Loveland.
A lot here.
I know I'm asking a lot, but I still believe in him. Yeah, if man could prove everyone wrong with the anti-if man, Jim Harbaugh, who only speaks in definites, who only does what he says he's going to do. I think he is a legitimate head coach. And, I'm not saying they're walking into the playoffs as the number 1 seed, but another year of Harbaugh coaching, Harbaugh ball, and we're looking at a Chargers team that could be more disciplined than they were this year, be a better team that's running the ball than they were this year. Hard to imagine, but I think they can do it. And, you just need to get an absolute weapon to go with Ladd, to go with whatever running back that they want to pull out of the stable. Go ahead. I think the Chargers are at least an option that I would keep my eye on throughout the season. I think they're going to be competitive throughout the whole season also.
I don't mind this. And Harbaugh is obviously the coach that would just not randomly, but produce an immediate improvement to where they go from being surface level playoff team to competing for a Super Bowl and being like a number 1 seed in the AFC. If there is a circumstance, it's this one, because Harbaugh's just a ball coach. Like, he's a dude. He is a guy that I've despite him being a Michigan head coach, I have just always respected him as a head coach. He is going to get the guys right. I'm curious to see how free agency in this upcoming draft goes for them. And they also, outside of Herbert, they've got a lot of franchise cornerstones, Joe Alt being one of them. Like, you already have all that shit figured out. It's bound to set up success. I, of course, though, can't, and this is one of the most likely picks, I can't not put money down on the Chiefs at plus 600.
Yeah.
I am easily focused on, in these conversations, when we're placed in these spots of like trying to figure out, all right, who's going to fix their issues and win a Super Bowl. Going to the teams that draft well every single year are the ones to pick. It's how the Eagles just won a Super Bowl. It's how Kansas City has won Super Bowls. Their recent run that they had before that was the year that they drafted George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie.
They knock it out the park. They do.
That was one of the best draft classes that they've had.
Nobody has picked better between the 30 through picks 30 and 32 than Kansas City has, maybe in NFL history. They find absolute studs that late in the draft, while you see teams missing in the teens, you see teams missing in the top 10, and they don't miss. Worthy, they don't miss at. I think he still can blossom. McDuffie's is a great shout. They just find guys that help their team. And they don't draft problems. They don't draft maybe Sky Moore is the last guy that had some expectation on the draft that hasn't really panned out.
Yeah.
But that's like one. Everyone else that they draft feels like an immediate impact guy. Chiefs, it's a fair play. It's a balanced play. I've got, I love my last pick here and I hate it at the same time. But it's the Lions plus 1,000. And I know you're losing both coordinators. I respect that loss.
That's why I can't bet on
respect that impact, but they are a team that is led by a guy that is a culture guy. He's not calling all the plays. He is just keeping the team laser focused. You have a core of of crazy talented young offensive pieces. I can't run through them all again. I've done it all year throughout the show. We know that Detroit Lions offense, I don't think they take a step back. Running backs still have juice in the tank. Wide receivers are still great. You still have Laporta. They still have a great offensive line. Shore it up again. Do everything that you just need to do to reinforce your team, how you want it structured, Dan Campbell, and let your coordinators come in and say, wow, you gave me a masterpiece. All I need to do is sign my name on it. Deal. Don't hire a bunch of eccentric coordinators that are going to mess with it. Hire Dan Campbell guys. I feel like Ben Johnson was a Dan Campbell guy. I feel like everybody was a Dan Campbell guy on that team, and that's what he does well. He finds guys that can help, that don't detract, that are not pulling away from the common focus. I think Detroit still has that. I like plus 1,000 on it.
Here's my only problem with that. And you let it in. You destroyed your own art. If you're trying to create an argument over here, brother, you can't give the best possible negating take. That you can't give the best possible counter argument. And that's what you did.
That's just laying out that they do have a challenge. Every team has challenges.
I would have blindly forgot about that if you were trying to lay things out, because you said a lot of right things. If there is a head coach that's going to find the replacements for their coordinators that they don't lose a step, it's Dan Campbell. But the problem is do they take that step forward? I will never, ever, never put money down on a team that has two first-year coordinators, let alone maybe even one, but two first-year coordinators to win a Super Bowl, it's a very risky move to make. Now, I know the Eagles just did this. A lot of things needed to go right. Vic Fangio was fantastic, and it was ridiculous that he was even a cast-off from Miami.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kellen Moore. They couldn't have had better circumstances that both of those guys were available and that they were able to hire them. Another thing that played into the luck of the Eagles. But that's an exception to me. That's an exception to me. It takes some time for some gelling, and not knowing what the new coordinators are going to be like, especially after Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson were lauded as two amazing coaches. I don't know. I feel a little. I don't feel good about the Lions this upcoming year. They're going to be fine. They still win 13,
I still think
12 games.
I think they win the NFC North.
Yeah.
I think they continue to pillage. I don't think the offense takes a step back. It would be tremendously difficult with all that talent to find a coordinator to come in and mess that up. They're too good. They're too good. And defense, they have been improving. They were severely injured this year on defense, and Aaron Glenn kept them competitive. I think you come in, and it's a talented defense also. You have a guy who comes in, fully healthy Lions defense. I don't think it's asking too much for them to be decent on that side of the ball, which is all they need to be with an exceptional offense. And I think the path is still there. NFC, I know they just won it. I still think they're a little bit weaker than the AFC. The path is there for Detroit. I like them.
The only other problem before we move on here, I have a lot of pause, and I've brought this up with the Eagles situation. I have a lot of pause investing in a situation that is frankly contingent on running back success. Like, you are betting on a position that gets injured often. David Montgomery even got hurt this year. They didn't lose like a significant step, but you could tell that their offense wasn't like really humming the way that it was when they had both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. So I don't know. I feel like if one of those guys goes down again for an extended period of time, which is possible to happen, I get worried.
I love the running back success being a huge factor, because that is a team that still commits to running the ball and getting their running backs involved in creative ways, still high on Detroit, and especially Gibbs and Montgomery.
All right, let's get to Hack of the Week. Every single week, Sean, we've got a recurring segment that we do at the end of the show. Hack of the Week we don't have the sounder for it, right?
No Hack of the Week sounder.
Hack of the Week for anybody who's new to us doing this segment. Anybody in the media, out in the general public that was doing hacky shit, we're going to talk about it. My Hack of the Week, Sean, the entire NBA and Adam Silver for putting on what was one of the most awful, unimpactful, uninteresting All-Star Game weekends, while the NHL figured out this is how we get everybody to tune in and how we get all the guys motivated. you have guys, I think it was Getzel or maybe it was Larkin. Somebody was saying that this was the most important game of their career. A random Four Nations face-off game in its inaugural situation just because they were playing Canada. And the motivation that these guys had after Canada booed the national anthem to start 2 fights in the beginning of this game. No, three fights, sorry. And it was scrappy. They were hitting each other the whole damn game. It was one of the best hockey games that I've ever watched. I'm saying this, that the NBA is hacks is one, their solutions to it's not even trying to compete right now with the NHL. Their ratings have been down because you've got a bunch of players who visibly don't look like they give a shit.
Yeah.
And you have the NHL putting that much effort into an all-star game setting, essentially. They need to figure out a way to make this better. Now, I jokingly tweeted that there should be fights during the NBA All-Star game. I think that would make it a lot more fun. But they have to find a way to compete, because if more people see shit like that with the NHL, I think that we could eventually see more people swaying towards watching the NHL.
It was brilliant. It was an absolute domination by the NHL on Saturday night. I was in a bar, and that first fight, when it kicked off, goosebumps.
Yeah.
And whole bar stood up. I've never seen it, Joe. Whole bar sitting down like, oh, hockey's coming on. Gloves drop. Everyone stands up, frothing at the mouth, clapping, yelling. I've never seen hockey fans this engaged. I was in D.C. when the Caps won the Stanley Cup in the streets. This was a better game than that whole run. I've never been more invested in a hockey game. You know why? Because you're giving these guys something to play for. Why is the World Baseball Classic such a success? Because they have something to play for. They're playing for country. They're playing for where they come from. I think the NBA has tried to do stuff like that, where we're pitting, country against country.
Yeah, I don't think the NBA players care the same amount.
I think they do, but the talent gap, until France started getting really solid with Gobert, Wemby, and then with the Jokic and Doncic, like they're starting to catch up a little bit. But hockey has always been so diverse rich with talent from different countries, Russia, Finland, Canada, US. Like, they have that crop to put stuff on like this. It's perfect. The NBA needs to find their slant similar to this, because they got dominated. I didn't even know Mac McClung won the slam dunk contest until this morning when I woke up.
Yeah, no, that was probably the funniest part in like the timing.
I didn't see it dunk. I watch it every year, and I completely got out of my mind because of what the NHL did.
The timing of the way that they did it was so that it happened so late at night that I didn't even know that the dunk contest was happening on Saturday night. And on top of this, Sean, you have to rely on a guy that is playing in the G League. Like, you have to rely on a guy that's not even an NBA player to make it interesting.
Yeah, it's just there's no star. Like, the stars are there. You're kind of just watching celebrities and not. Oh, you
want to download yours. You're a dummy for not telling me to.
I didn't.
What you were saying.
I'm not sure but the NBA doesn't have guys that care. You're kind of just sitting in the city watching the guys dap each other up and watching them hang out, have fun. That's great. It's supposed to be a fun environment. It is, I'm sure, a fun environment to go to, but there's no stakes. It doesn't feel real. NHL made something feel real in a devoid sports weekend. It was great, phenomenal. NBA, fix yourself up. Am I good for my hack of the week?
Yeah. Thanks you're also the hack of the week for putting in a hack of the week that required
I didn't think
the
it
media.
Required.
Yes, it did. No one was going to understand. We needed the media to actually be. We needed the video file to play, and people wouldn't have the context. So your hack of the week. Let's set this up, and I'll play it.
Yeah, WFAN's Boomer and Geo, pretty good show. I think
a great show. It's one of the best. It's the best morning sports talk show on the market.
Yeah, it's a monster. But they're, Boomer Esiason, bit of an older guy. And there's...
By the way, this is a good hack of the week. This is just like, you did something really hacky. This is bad.
and you know what? I think you and I, we've worked with talent of people that are older than us. And sometimes they'll pass something along your dashboard that's, bait, maybe like an NBA Centel, maybe somewhat, classics, the Barry McCockeners, all that stuff. Yeah. But it looks like Boomer did it to himself, where technology is starting to get to him a little bit. Falling for an AI video of polar bear cubs with barnacles attached to them, and wanted to bring that to air because I think maybe he felt for the polar bears, which is tough when it's completely fake, completely manufactured. complete AI propaganda, whatever the machine is that they're using it. Boomer, you got to start differentiating.
We need to, by how easily he got caught up with this, we need to ban AI content. But I'm going to play the clip really quick.
Last night, somehow on my Instagram feed, I got this animal rescue feed from the Arctic. And there was one session where there was like 4 little cubs for a polar bear.
Well, that's AI right there.
Of course it is.
Oh
Gio's
and we may have some AI stuff then.
It's AI.
Oh my God, Boomer.
Yeah.
You cannot
may
tell
have
me
some AI
with a
stuff.
straight face you thought that was real.
There were a couple of them that looked unbelievably real.
Yeah, you know what? That's tough.
Especially the seals.
That thing that
That's what
you
I'm
just
saying.
showed me
Yes.
was one of the fakest looking things I've ever seen in my life. It looked like a cartoon.
I'm telling you, this could not be all AI. This can't be all AI.
Everything you're showing is AI. Everything.
Eddie, did you see any articles on this?
Yeah, looking further into it, says that it's nearly impossible for barnacles to attach to polar bears. And there's this thing that examining viral claims about barnacle-covered polar bears and debunking them.
Barnacle-covered polar bears.
The syringe like disappears in the middle of that.
It's a disaster.
Boomer. I'm just glad because he's our dad's age. I love Boomer Esiason. I've listened to that show for so long when it was Boomer and Carton and then Boomer and Gio. I'm just glad that our dads are not making that mistake and we're not getting text messages like, hey, did you see this? It's like, Dad, no.
Yeah, I look, it's tricky. It's got to be hell for guys that grew up. I mean, imagine growing up, you got like a TV with 3 channels and then 30 years later, you have the entire world in your palm, and you're like, oh, I kind of have to believe this. I'm not online that often. It's brutal. These people getting scammed by AI are brutal. The hosts that are believing in AI is brutal. It is a total miss.
It needs to be. Image creation needs to be outlawed.
Dude.
It needs to be because that shit. We're smart enough to see that, but
yeah.
No, it's too hard to overcome. But all right, we've got the hack bag 201-834-4308. If you want to call in and give us a voicemail, questions, comments, concerns, daily woes that you need our help navigating, this is the hack bag.
The mail never stops.
This is the hack bag. Hit us on Twitter for questions or call at 201-834-4308.
Why'd you say 43? All right, we've got one voicemail from. Oh my God!
come on.
Why is that an auto setting to loop it? All right, we got one voicemail from Jack from DC.
Hey guys, Jack from DC here. Man, I've finally come down from my NFL high this season with the Commanders finally returning to their glory days, Rigo, the Fun Bunch, and now our new Commander-in-Chief, JD5. Raise hail. Wanted to ask you all if you ever thought about taking the show on the road to Durham at all this spring. It's gorgeous this time of year. I'm heading down to catch my William and Mary tribe take on East Carolina on the Diamond. Left hand up, raise hail, Jack out. Hey guys, Jack from DC here.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate
What's
it.
the bit that I don't understand here? Because this is clearly a listener of one of your other shows.
Yeah, so there's a bit where an absolute moron called into a local DC station trying to talk about the with the alias Jack from DC, trying to talk about the glory days of the Commanders. Ironically, the Commanders have been around for 2 years and previously Washington football team and the Redskins, and he really swept up moron. Getting involved in all the Commanders hype. I don't think we'll be making it down to Durham, North Carolina.
Is he from Durham? Like, I don't understand the Durham part. That was where I was
all
confused.
over the place. Yeah, like he's got some ties to Durham, and he's also like in Northern Virginia, and it's just a lot of lore with this idiot. But
we called him an idiot for you. Left us a nice voicemail.
No, not.
The original caller.
We're getting spoofed on
okay.
by this Jack from DC making fun of the previous. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, not going to Durham.
Niche reference that I don't
very
get.
Niche. William Mary, go ahead, watch the baseball team. Had a camp at William and Mary baseball. Hit my first ball ever out of a big ballpark. Stared it down. Got yelled at for doing it because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to act like you've been there before. And like, hey, why'd you stare down that?
Who yelled at you?
Like one of the coaches.
William and Mary coaches?
Yeah.
Did your dad yell at you?
No, but I'm like, why you act like it's the first home run you ever hit? I'm like, it was. Like that, it was, and it's like, oh, okay, that was kind of weird. I had like,
damn, you cost yourself a recruiting
It
opportunity.
was awful. Yeah, I was
What
sitting
a
there looking like
dummy.
I was milking it, and I'm like, oh, so that's what it looks like. That's awesome.
You should have been like, because I'm just like that. I hit a ball that good. I gotta watch that shit go over the fence.
Oh, right over left.
16-year-old Sean was. Oh, that was my first one.
I was shoot happy about it, and I'm like, oh no, oh that's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's
but you know what? Go ahead. Happy for the Commanders. Hopefully, everyone in DC is excited and keeping a sane head, and hopefully they draft well. They need to.
I'm not as happy for the Commanders being a Giants fan. I hope nothing but failure and lack of success for Washington.
Yeah,
glad they got their guy though. Jaden Daniels is fun to watch. Other question that we have from Chester. Out of the 7 wonders of the world, which do you want to visit the most? Mine would be the Bass Pro Shop Pyramid in Memphis. So I didn't even know what the 7 wonders of the world were. It's the Great Wall of China. It's the Great Pyramid of Giza. Obviously, the Bass Pro Shops one's in there.
Yeah.
Colosseum. The Chichen Itza. Petra, which it's in Jordan. I haven't even heard of that. The Taj Mahal. The Lighthouse of Alexandria. The Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, you can tell I have no understanding of history, and then the statue of Zeus.
I mean, I think seeing Christ the Redeemer would be pretty sick in Brazil.
No, wait, maybe that's wrong. Why did Google give me this list? This doesn't seem right.
Yeah, 7 wonders, Great Wall of China, Chichen Itza, which I think is one of the Aztec temples. Yeah, Petra, Machu Picchu. People love Machu Picchu. It's supposed to be absolutely gorgeous. In Peru. No, Christ the Redeemer. You show me that big ass statue. You show me that big beautiful statue in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah, nice way
you know what? Honestly,
nice way to describe a statue of
Anderson.
Jesus.
You big moron. Yeah, a 98-foot tall Jesus statue overlooking the whole city. I think it's pretty sick. I think it's pretty glorious. And then Grand Canyon will do it someday. I think
is Grand Canyon one of them?
I think it's considered as one. It's not.
Sounds like a lot more than 7.
Yeah, the Great Walls.
See, this Wikipedia article has Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Talk about how unprepared I am to talk about this. Oh, okay. What does Britannica have? Great Wall of China.
I was just in Britannica.
Chichen Itza, Petra, Machu Picchu. Okay, Machu Picchu is there. Christ the Redeemer, the Colosseum. I had the opportunity to see the Colosseum, but I didn't. And then the Taj Mahal is the other one. I don't know.
Like, as a sports fan, I should be more into seeing the Colosseum, right? Like,
yeah, but I don't know if
that's where it all supposedly started. Not that into the Colosseum yet. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's falling apart.
Yeah,
They should put a big video board in there, and they should renovate it a little bit, touch it up. And we should be able to watch a football game in there.
Well, aren't they doing like some Airbnb bit with the Coliseum where you can stay there and like people could have mock battles in the Coliseum?
I want a real battle.
I think they're opening it up and doing
How do we get a real? What would it require for us to get a real gladiator fight?
Oh,
I mean, just like to push for this to happen. Do you think any modern governments, with how soft everybody is these days, do you think anyone you could pitch that like, hey, these two dudes are going to kill each other?
The UFC would be closest if we said we're taking the UFC into the Coliseum.
No. What would it take for the UFC to possibly put on an event where 2 dudes killed you, like actual gladiator fight? Like it was actually,
we would have
with the swords, like a total throwback, all of it.
I think it would take societal collapse, and then on the rebuild.
Good shout. That's a good shout.
Then we'll try it. You know, why not? We'll see. We're just not even going to entertain the thought. Maybe we'll get.
Well, when society collapses, Sean, you and I, that we're gonna kind of lay low for a little bit. We're gonna let society collapse, and then we'll suddenly be like, we'll be promoters for these gladiator fights. I like that idea.
I know it's been real rough for you, and there hasn't been light on the other side of the tunnel. But
yeah,
do we have something for you? Pick yourself up. We're gonna watch 2 men maul each other for 20 minutes. Are they getting weapons? No.
Yes. The way I want the
the shield and the sword.
Yeah, I don't want a fist fight. That's no, because then that's just inhumane.
Well,
that's inhumane.
That is spirit.
I don't want to watch 2 dudes
spirit.
beat the shit out of each other. No, I want to see the actual old school gladiator fight.
What if they both just had guns and we're at the other side of the Coliseum?
Well, that's a duel. That's not a.
I'd watch a duel.
2 sniper rifles. You can't
Just 2 guys quick scoping. Quick scopes only in the Coliseum. If you hard scope, then you're out. You're not making the escape. I don't need to see the spear or the horse.
No, that's the cool part.
Talk
Talk about a throwback, man.
It would be awesome if we saw 2 guys with guns in the Coliseum, other sides, and we say, all right, you guys figure it out.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, get as close as you want. Yeah, Call of Duty. I want to see real life Call of Duty in the Coliseum. Get as close as you want.
Brain rotted. Way too brain rotted. Anyone who wants to leave a voicemail in the future, 201-834-4308. Call in about whatever. We want more stupid questions. We've gotten some great ones. We've gotten some from the drive-through. Still waiting on some more like that. We're waiting on Dan, my man, to give us a good one, too.
He's hiding out.
He's hiding from us.
We enjoyed the voicemails, Dan.
Yeah.
As you know, they may have been a little bit criticized. We still very much enjoyed them.
Oh, who criticized them?
I did.
Oh. I thought you said like listeners were criticizing them. No. All right. At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio, at Hack City Pod. We'll talk to you folks later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.